friends, welcome back to Amy Bakes. Today I'm going to share a recipe with you that I've been wanting to share for a while, but I actually lost the recipe. But I did find it, but I'm going to show you why I lost it. It's on a sticky note. I'm going to show you today how to make your own crackers. So you don't have to go to the store and you don't have to buy that box of crackers that's got the list of ingredients that long. I'm going to show you how to make your own crackers for a fraction of the cost that taste 1,000 times better. So for the base recipe, you are going to need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You're going to need a teaspoon of salt, pepper to taste, a teaspoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. If you absolutely hate olive oil and just do not like the way it tastes, you can get an avocado oil, or this one is an avocado olive blend, but basically you're just going to need 2 tablespoons of oil. I just recommend olive oil, and 1/2 cup of cold water. Now, these things I have set aside because you can add to the base recipe 2 teaspoons of an herb of your choice. So if you like garlic and herb, you could do this one. This is a fantastic one right here, which is just salt, pepper, and garlic. Everything bagel's a great one. And then I always do sprinkle the coarse salt across the top, but that is also optional. You don't have to. Your supplies, you're going to need 2 baking sheets, and you can either use the Silipat, what are these things? Silipat mats, baking mats, or you can use parchment paper. Either one is your choice. You're going to need a measuring cup, teaspoon, tablespoon. You are going to need a rolling pin. I prefer this smaller one for this particular task. You'll see why in a minute. A bowl, a spoon. I also use a scale. You don't have to, but you'll see why in a minute. But you are going to need a spray bottle with water in it if you're going to sprinkle anything across the top of these. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is make our dough. And before we get too far into this, I want to let you know it is raining and it is cold. It's very nasty outside, so I have my dogs inside. So if you've seen any of my videos, you know what that means. At any given moment, the dogs could go crazy and just start barking. So if you hear that, that's what's going on. But I'd rather have them inside with us instead of outside, and it's just too cold and wet. And they get really dirty. Okay, so we are going to spoon and level off 1.5 cups of flour. And I forgot to grab my 1/2 cup measure, so let me go get that. I've got my 1/2 cup measure. I don't know if you've noticed, but some of the measuring cups are green and some of them are yellow. The ones that I use and keep in the cabinet are yellow. And then I also have a set of green ones. And since I usually use 1 cup of flour at a time, I just keep it stored in there. And then my green 1/2 cup measure is stored in the oatmeal bin. So I have a couple different sets. And you just heard the stove beep. I have preset the oven to 400 degrees. So let me tell you how this recipe came about. I wanted to make my own crackers, and I went online and I found a recipe for crackers. I'm going to need, what's that, a teaspoon? 1 teaspoon of sugar. And so I found one. I tried it, wasn't crazy about it. Thought, well, I think I can make that better. And so I started, I guess it was about a month-long journey, a teaspoon of salt, in trying to come up with this great recipe. I finally got it exactly perfect, exactly how I wanted it. At that point, I could pretty much just do it by memory. By the way, I'm just doing a pinch of pepper. I'm not measuring that. I could do it by memory. And so as I went along and made changes, I just kind of wrote them down. And then when I got to the recipe I liked, I just put it on a sticky note. Somewhere along the way, I lost my sticky note. I could not find it. I have looked for that sticky note for almost a year. And while looking for another recipe, I found my sticky note. So it's 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So I was super excited. I actually had a friend of mine that loves these crackers. She asked me if I could make them for her one time, and I'm like, I lost my recipe. You're not going to believe it, but I can't find it. So as soon as I found it, she was the first person that I texted. So then we're just going to add the water, and we're going to mix this up to make a dough. Okay, so my dough is coming together, and what I'm going to do now is just kind of get in here with my hands and knead this in. Make sure I got all that. So you can do different types of olive oil. I've done different infusions. I've done a garlic infused olive oil. My husband makes this thing called a jalapeno hash that he loves. And actually, everybody loves it. When we lived in our previous house, the firemen loved it. They used to come over and get jars of it. And it's kind of steeps in an oil. Actually, it's in a mazola oil, but still, it gets the flavor of the jalapeno hash in there. So I have made these with that. Okay. I got all the little floury bits up, and now I'm just going to just kind of knead this around in my hand. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to measure out little dough balls. Okay, I went ahead and put up my ingredients and let the dough rest for about 10 minutes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just cut off or tear off little pieces. And I'm just going to do, this is from memory, I think it's 0.7. So I'm going to get that up to 0.7. Yep, 0.7. And now I'm just going to make little balls that are 0.7. And then I'm going to roll them out. So here's our little dough balls that are weighed out to 0.7 of an ounce. So take one, roll it in your hands, kind of get it long, smush it flat, and then I'm going to lay these out here. I can do 4 on a sheet at a time. So just kind of roll it, smush it, stretch it. The key is to get it super thin. And so we're just going to set these on here, and then I'm going to come back with my little rolling pin, and I'm going to roll these out super, super thin. And you just keep rolling these out super, super thin. Make them nice and long. Oopsie. There we go. Nice and long. And they don't have to look perfect. Now, if you've gone to any specialty stores like Whole Foods or Central Market or something like that, you'll see that they sell crackers like this, but they're much smaller than this. And you get about a dozen of them, maybe 18, and it's about $7. So this is your own crackers that you're making, where you have control of the ingredients that go into them. And you can make a dozen for much, much less. So just keep rolling these out flat, nice and thin. You can see why this smaller rolling pin's a little bit easier than to do that with a larger one. If you were using a larger one, you would have to do it like on the counter and then move it over to the pan. One more. And what I'm going to do on these is I'm going to do one tray with everything bagel, and I'm going to do one tray with the kosher salt, just kind of show you. They're so good. They're great plain. You don't have to have a seasoning on them, but you know, some people really love that everything bagel, and so they really like that. They're great for dips, like for a French onion dip or something like that, just plain. Okay, so easy. Now you just lightly mist. And let's do the everything bagel on this one. Actually, I'm going to do it this way, because I like to sprinkle it like this. Then you just go in like this. And then we're going to pop these in the oven, preheated to 400. It says 12 to 15 minutes. You just got to watch them, because they do burn quickly. So start checking on them after that. Probably 10 minutes I'll start checking on them. And this is going to be depending on your oven, how hot it cooks. So double check on it. Don't just take that 12 to 15 minutes. Just double check on it. Keep a constant eye on it. Now we're going to pop them in. And we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. And then I'll start checking on them. So while my first pan is baking, I've gone ahead and prepared the second pan. And on the rest of these, I'm just going to use the coarse salt, because we're going to have these with dinner tonight. I'm making soup, and most everybody in the family just prefers them with salt. So we're just going to get this one prepared. Just light squirt, and then just sprinkle the salt. And then we'll just wait until those come out of the oven. So the first batch is out of the oven, then we'll put these in. Okay, so they've been in 10 minutes. Let's take a quick look here. They're looking pretty good. I think I'm going to go ahead and take these out. And we'll go ahead and put this next tray in. And I'll go ahead and set it again for 10 minutes. Now, while those were baking, I did go ahead and do a cost analysis on these. And it came up to $1.28 per recipe. Each recipe is going to get you 17 really nice size crackers. And that's using 100% organic ingredients. Now, of course, if you were to use an oil other than olive oil or something like that, or a different flour that's maybe not organic, that will change the cost of your ingredients. But about $1.29 for 17 very large crackers. Okay, the next tray is in, and even though this pan is very hot, I'm just going to go ahead and get the next batch ready to go. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll just keep working the trays until they're ready. Just be very careful if you're working with a hot pan. Just be very careful when handling it. This is the reason you really want to keep a very close eye on them while they're baking. So these baked for 10 minutes, these baked for 10 minutes. These were in for 10 minutes, but I started smelling them and they started kind of smelling like maybe they were getting a little burnt. They were in for 9 minutes. So my last two batches, I'm going to set the timer for 8 minutes and check them after 8 minutes. But that's why the thinner you roll them, the faster they cook. So you really do want to keep your eyes on them. So I would adjust that bake time to 8 to 12 minutes, but they're probably going to be done somewhere between the 8 to 10 minute mark. Okay, guys, here are the crackers. They are done. We have 17 really large crackers. And even though, as I mentioned, you really want to keep an eye on them while they're baking, these are a little bit too done. Don't throw those out. Just like toast, there's always somebody that likes them a little lighter and a little darker. So somebody will eat these. So don't discard that unless they're actually burnt. Don't discard them. But an interesting thing, these cooked 8 minutes and these cooked 9 minutes. So you really have to just watch them. I think the key is how thin you roll them out. But I really want to show you to give you a perspective of how big these crackers actually are. Okay, look at this. Look at the size of these crackers. So you have 17 enormous crackers. You could make them smaller if you wanted to, but look at this. I want to show you this as well. You hear that crunch? See how thin they are? Guys, I really do hope that you tried this recipe. It's really simple, very inexpensive. You can make gourmet crackers for just a little over $1.25. You can't beat this price. You can't beat this taste. You have control of all the ingredients that go in it. You can customize it. They're so fantastic. I really hope you give this recipe a try. And thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to leave me a comment. I do read all your comments. And if you're interested in other great recipes, just go back and look at my videos. And I've got several different videos. If you want to learn how to make your own bread, I've got a great video on that. So thank you so much for watching, guys.